Hello and welcome to Climbing Daily, and welcome to a homemade climbing wall somewhere in Pembrokeshire, because outside it is pouring with rain. I'm here with Angus Kille, climber extraordinaire. Of course.
Am I climber extraordinaire now?
Yes, you are. Yeah, it's important that we tell the people who you are.
You can't take that back now.
No, that's it. You're down forever. That's it. Angus, just for the people who don't know who you are, just who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? And tell us a little bit about your climbing history.
Well, I'm Angus. I'm from the UK. I live in North Wales now, in Llanberis, sort of the centre of the Welsh climbing trad scene. Yeah, I work outdoors, taking people climbing, but most of the time I just take myself climbing and go out with mates. I love trad and sport and even bits of bouldering, and yeah, I basically do as much climbing as I can.
This is the thing, because you guys are quite understated, which is why it's a miracle I've managed to get you with cameras in an interview, because you guys are doing some outrageously difficult ascents, but it's quite a low-key kind of scene. No one's shouting about it that much. Why is that? Is it just like you guys have very small egos and you just want to get on with climbing, or what is it?
I don't know about the small egos, I don't know if it applies to me, but definitely in the scene there's a lot of really modest, like top climbers out there. I think if you've got really big climbers, you know, like James McAfee or Emma Twyford, just in the same village as you, and they're like really way up there and they're totally modest about it, it's pretty hard to have a big ego yourself. So someone like me, you know, I'm not going to make a big deal out of myself when there's those guys just doing amazing ascents and not even talking about it.
You say this, but we're now going to move on to something that I think is fairly amazing, which is that you climbed the Indian Face the other day, E9, a notoriously deathy, terrifying route, and one that a lot of climbers really have to justify somehow to themselves that danger is okay. So let's start at the beginning of the route. Why, in the first place, did you think that you might want to climb this very silly thing?
In the first place, I didn't think I wanted to climb it. I was definitely trying to convince myself I was never going to climb it. The route went probably the same to you as it does to me. That it was just this really infamous route. And when I was growing up or getting into climbing, it was just the most notorious route. And so it was always like right at the top of a list of routes that I'd never do. But yeah, slowly I kind of pulled at the thread of thinking about doing the route. You know, I went to try it and I was just telling people, oh no, I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm never going to do it. I just want to know what it's like. It's part of climbing history. And then, yeah, slowly it started to seep in, and then it felt like an infection, and I couldn't get rid of it.
Because you flashed it first time you went on a top rope.
Yeah.
How annoying was that? Because because if you hadn't flashed it, you'd probably be like, well, okay, it's too hard for me. But the fact that you climbed it clean, you must have been like, oh no, now I have to do it.
I mean, it was really hard to try and get that on a top rope. It's really insecure climbing, and there's just a million holds to lead you the wrong way, and all these kind of blind alleys. But yeah, I just worked out and didn't really think about it at all, and just kept going, and you know, on a top rope I got through it, and it would have been a lot easier to say no. And at some point, I really wished I'd never been on the route at all. So it would have been a lot easier maybe if I hadn't have done so well the first time round.
We talk about a notorious route. It's notorious because the holds are meant to be a little bit snappy. As you said, it kind of can lead you down blind alleys, but also the gear is horrendous. So just let's talk a little bit about the logistics of the route. What's that like?
I mean, the gear is somewhat illusory. Like, you can kind of convince yourself that it's going to work. And I think there's like one or two placements that you could probably put your weight on. You could maybe like back off. Especially I'd equalise all these tiny bits of brass into one bit. But from like a fifth of the way up, all the way until almost the top, you've only got one cluster of gear in the middle, which is just a web of terrible little brass RPs. So it's a bit of a mind game. It's kind of a nest of illusory kit, basically.
So the week leading up to your ascent, was it something that was just in your head, and did you have a day where you're like, right, this is the day, or did it just come unexpectedly for you?
No, I was still in denial about it, but a week before I went to do it, I'd kind of gone up there to see friends, but they were climbing their own thing, so I thought I'd just belay myself on a top rope. But the whole walk in, it takes an hour and a half to get from my front door to the bottom of the crag, and the whole walk in all the way up Snowdon, I couldn't think about anything else, and I got there feeling sick, just feeling a little bit ill about the idea of doing this horrendous route that I really couldn't justify it. And then I had a couple of goes and I thought, actually, no, maybe I could do that. And the following week, it's like I didn't have any free time. I could only think about that route. And I'd be talking to someone like you and I'd actually be thinking about Indian face. Or I'd be driving, and for the whole journey that I'd be driving, I'd only think about that. And it felt like I couldn't get any sleep or I couldn't think about anything else. So I had one day off work that week. And I just kind of popped over the road to V12, got some Skyhooks, went to DMM, got some screamers, tried to convince myself I wasn't going to do it, and then went off up there.
When you arrived at the crag, as signs go, the company that you were with was probably someone up there telling you that it was time to do this route. Just tell us who was at the bottom of the crag.
Well, yeah, when I got there, Johnny Dawes and Nick Dixon were there. So Johnny Dawes did the first ascent and Nick Dixon did the second. And as I say, it was really hard to justify to myself. But when you get there and you've got those two boys up there, you don't really have to convince anyone. You're already among company that really understand what you're doing and are full of psych. So it's not something you have to really justify once you're there with that crowd.
Do you still remember the crux sequence? Can you piece it out, or is it a bit long?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got a bad memory, but I can definitely remember like high foot and then little mono stack on this flaky thing, and you just kick your foot out left like a kung fu kick, and you you just don't want to do sketchy stuff like that. There's no sort of really secure way of doing it, and then you like rock over left. Oh yeah, some great climbing and a little ears going again, and yeah, switching feet on tiny little holds. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sounds horrendous. But fair play to you. The route always had a mystique around it. You know, it wasn't repeated for years, and then there was a flurry of repeats from people like Callum. Did that sort of take away the juju of that route a little bit? Were you like, okay, well, these are my peers, I'm as good as them. If they can do it, I can do it, or did it not really matter?
Well, the route still maintained its reputation, and trying to match myself to that reputation was really difficult. And even with my friends like, you know, Kath and Callum climbing. Kath's obviously a total trad Jedi. And, all right, well, when Callum did it, I thought maybe I could do that, yeah. I thought they're all legends, but they're not. Callum's done it, maybe I'll be all right. But no, it still maintained its like mystical aura. And it was pretty hard to convince myself I'd do it. And even up to the point of tying in, it was like, can I really match my reputation to this route? But I think once you've left the ground, you've made your decision, and you've just got to convince yourself to tie in. And especially when you leave the ledge there, that little contemplation ledge, you can't lie to yourself after that. And it's almost like the consequences irrelevant because you've already made your decision. You get on with it and enjoy it if you can. It's so good.
Good lad. Good effort. Great work, Angus. Excellent work. Good effort. Brilliant. Hey, join the club, matey. There's somebody else down there clapping you.